Hey y'all! Okay, so to maintain sanity early in quarantine, I started a speculative biology project. So imagine my surprise when I noticed speculative biology beginning to pick up steam on YouTube, circa like February, March 2021 or so. So I decided I wanted to capitalize on it, and also I was beginning to crave of an audience for my creative exploits, so to speak. However, I was fairly unhappy with the project as it was, so I started a new one, carrying over a lot of the stuff I'm happy with, like certain phylums, albeit sometimes altered, but the 2.0 version, if you will, is the one I'll be showing you in this series. In this video, I'll establish all the non-biological components of the planet like star, moon structure, chemistry, and all that. And please do note, I'm not a professional with any kind of degree, doctorate, or master's. I'm just a mid-teen with biology slash taxonomy slash paleontology as an artistic special interest. So with that, let's get started. That was a year ago today, on July the 14th, 2021. I have re-recorded the audio to make it not sound like shit, and that's what this video is. Since I think the god-awfully low quality of the base version of part 1, particularly I think the audio, is actually turning people away from the entire series, so to solve this problem, and as a 1-year special to show how far my video making skills have come in the first year of learning, I'm remaking it from scratch. Except for the script, some of it is the same as before, but I'm not opposed to editing or rewriting part of it if I see fit. And this video will also serve as the first of the season episodes. Yes, those are actually happening. So now, let us actually get into it. One might ask what speculative biology, or spec bio for short, or just a spec project in some circles is. In short, it's a type of speculative fiction that's based around the possible evolution of life in the future, or an alternate timeline, or as in this case, an alien planetoid. Based on how it's evolved on Earth, following trends that show up. Also, an alien planet is much easier to do due to the fact you don't have to deal with obscure contingencies from Earth. Among other things, if I get you itching to make your own, then I'll suggest you watch these. Friendotopia's Alien Evolution series to get a basic understanding of how evolution works, Bibliardian's Alien Bioseries series for terminology, and Random Ether Time's Speculative Biology series Winter Diver, all good tutorials on spec bio. Oh, and before I forget, artifexian's videos on moons, axial tilt, currents, climate, and wind patterns are all good tutorials on planet building, important for spec bio, and what I'm doing in this video. Okay, so look, I don't know much about stars. This is easy to fuck up, so I'll keep it very basic, i.e. I'll say it's basically the same as Earth, Sun, and leave it at that. Like, it's technically slightly different, but like, it's for all intents and purposes, it's just copy-paste. Axial tilt. This creates seasons, so it'll have to be something noticeable since seasons are necessary for a habitable planet. So I will set the axial tilt at minus 27 degrees, which is more than Earth's 23 degrees, but nothing too extreme. Trust me, you can create chaos using this if you want. Mainly because that's not what I'm here to play around with in this project, but I don't want anything here to be identical to that of Earth, even if different only in petty ways. Minus, by the way, just means it's tilted in the opposite direction from that of Earth, and so the sun will rise in the west and set in the east. Although, which of the two directions that aren't towards the poles is west and east is a complete social construction, so it's kind of doesn't matter. Orbital time stats. The local day is 22 hours, 33 minutes, and 13 seconds. The local year is 103 local days at the appearance of Fronten ac Tergum Animalibus. Chemical conditions. No hydrogen sulfide. For those who got the joke and for those who didn't for that matter, all I'll say is just that our understanding of what can and cannot be done here is limited. You need carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen for life, unless you're using silicon-based life forms, in which case you can emit the carbon, although silicon-based life forms aren't all that likely for reasons I'll get into in a future video. And that is all we know for certain. So one probably ought to stick closely to Earth here if you don't want to do a fuck ton of research. But if you do want to play around with chemicals, then please avoid chemicals that would instantly kill pretty much anything subjected to them. H2S planet, ahem, Otherwise, you're in the dark. Research it yourself. So again, I'll stick closely to Earth-like conditions for this project, though as a testament to doing something kinda interesting, I'll remove the 2% nickel and replace it with iron, although there is still probably some small quantities of nickel here. As for moons, I think I might have 3 moons. With that number of moons, I can do at least some vaguely interesting bullshit for the sole purpose of being mildly interesting, which may or may not just add up to being more work for me. But before that, a note on the different types of moons. There's minor moons, which are essentially meteorites that found themselves in orbit of a planet, and major moons, which are like planets that essentially found themselves in orbit of bigger planets, although really they're in orbit of each other. Our moon, the Earth's moon, is a major moon, and a major moon is necessary for life for 2 reasons. One, to stabilize the planet's orbit, stable conditions, pretty necessary to have stable conditions to adapt to, that you're adapted to and all that. And 2, it's also needed to create tides which are needed for sessile organisms, such as plants or pretty much any autotroph you create to come onto land, which is then necessary for the heterotrophs to come onto land. I'll make moon number 1 a minor moon, and I'll set it rather close to the planet, to the point where it might even have a tide, although negligible. And of course, as mentioned before, a major moon is necessary, so I'll make moon number 2 a major moon, and I'll set it a bit closer to the planet than Earth's moon, and have it about the same size to create slightly bigger tides. And for a third moon, I'll have it rather far out, just since that's where there's space for it, but I'll make it out of something very reflective, say marble, so that it can actually be seen from the planet's surface at least, making it minimally relevant to anything. And lastly, for gravity, I'm going to have a rather moderate 92% Earth gravity achieved through smaller planet size and the lack of nickel, which is heavier than the iron I'm going to be replacing it with. I know it's a trope, but it's a trope for a reason, being that big life form equals cool. Trust me, it's not as low as I could take it if I wanted, even although, the minimum is 80%, the maximum's 200% Earth gravity, so frankly, most projects should really have a high gravity planet based on that. But then again, Earth is a rather heavy planet in the grand scheme of what we've observed in our solar system, so maybe not, I don't know. I will note that I was very wishy-washy about the details here, but that's because I don't understand the details. Even with biology, which is my area of expertise, my description tells you to take with a grain of salt and not use it as educational material, in case I get something wrong. Well, this is planet building and chemistry and physics, which is way out of my area of expertise. This was my least favorite part of the project to work on with any spec bio project I have. So, if you take that with a grain of salt, then take this with a whole bag of salt. Seriously, I was in this coffee shop once, and they had little bags of salt, how you sometimes in coffee shops see bags of sugar to put in tea, and I mistook the bag of salt for a bag of sugar, and so I put the salt in my tea. I'm still very salty about that experience. So just before I get into the outro properly, I just want to note that my pen videos have been getting no views over the last couple months. It's all been just these stupid loopable videos I've made as filler. So if this is at all interesting to you, please walk through some of the series. I just want someone to watch what I've put these hundreds of hours, not hundreds, but tens of hours into creating, well, between them all, maybe hundreds of hours. At this point, I don't know, just please. I really like it, I just want someone to see it. Please, please, please. Oh, and I've also been going downhill on subscribers for months, so if you subscribed and then you'd see future videos, that'd be really nice. Please. So I just finished the audio. I don't expect there to be very much I have to say about the production after having done the drawing the visual assets and editing them in. I mean, it's there's 8 days till this is scheduled to go live. Hopefully I don't get it late. I mean, I've already gone through all the trouble of going through the most headachy part of finishing the audio before that point. I can get back onto a more normal sleep schedule now, where I really need to get into the habit of recording audio earlier than 4 a.m. almost. But yeah. So yeah. I mean, with part 1, I was I am glad that I have a remake of this now. Just, if anything, was I kind of hate the original video. Something I learned, a bit of advice I have to give to anyone who's starting a YouTube channel or similar hobby out for publishing stuff is, create a bullshit video as your first video or bullshit project for your first project. And it doesn't mean you have to like hate it as a concept or it has to be complete bullshit, but just make something like simple as it's like its own thing, like a comedy skit or something, just so you can learn the basics of how to use your program and just how to make an actual thing. Just because you're gonna learn, like I learned so much making that first video, to the point where jumping quality between the first video and the second video, or even like the first, or even like between the start and end of the first video, it's like, it's stark, the number of different methods for quality insurance I managed to figure out just then alone, you know? So, yeah. But again, on the whole, don't trust me note. I mean, I was even more vague on the original version of this video, and I've still had to retcon multiple things. Seriously. So yeah, I've now just finished the actual video. So yeah, it's like been 3 months since I had the idea for this. And yeah, I hope it will make it so less people get turned away. So yeah, this whole thing, I'm quite proud of it. Like, the audio sounds pretty good, the visuals pretty good. I think I got a good amount of diverse, interesting visual content in here a lot of the time. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I kind of envisioned this whole project as like a spiritual part 1 season episode, and it will be the first of the season episodes playlist. If such playlist doesn't exist, this means it's the only video, and I just feel really uncomfortable with the existence of one episode playlists. I hate that. I just like one video playlists. I don't know. I don't like it. I mean, the part 2 season episode. Okay, so for a while, I was planning to release that alongside this, like premiering it minutes after. Basically, because I originally planning to premiere the half an hour video and a part 2 video like alongside, like to release that alongside the part 1 video as just like, you know, because, you know, releasing like actual content that's like what people come for at the start sounded like a good idea. Didn't work out. And of course, in this case, it didn't work out because, you know, there's not a lot of work. There's, for the longest time, like for the better part of a year, there's not been a lot of work I've had to do to complete Pen Part 2 season episode, but it's all headachy work. Like recording voiceovers, editing things, and very fiddly things, having to edit them, having to make the new bits of voiceovers I'm inserting over existing bits of dialogue that don't convert into a single video format very well. And making that sound natural. It's all just headachy things. So yeah, I'm planning to get it out in a week. If I really randomly feel like crunching right like in 2 minutes, I'll actually like I might record that over now and might end up going for the original plan. But then again, I don't know how many people are gonna come, so I don't know how much I should care, frankly. But yeah, I do plan to get like the remainder of part 5 out this summer. Like, so after the part 2 video, I plan to release a video on the river dwelling life forms of the Eastern Hemisphere. Then I intend to make a video about the first terrestrial life forms, then the river dwellers of the Western Hemisphere. I swear I'm not going into this much detail about river dwellers again. And then we'll see the beginning of part 6, which will then go on through the fall. And then as we go through winter into spring, we'll see part 7. That's the modeled plan. I mean, I said we'd get terrestrial life forms in like about a year last year, and it's been a year. It's like, don't worry, they're coming like second next episode. So plus river dwellers already like somewhat like terrestrial, you know. So yeah, that's coming. So yeah, those are the plans, and I think I'm rambling on at this point. So yeah, bye y'all.